There we are. And so it's starting to look a little bit waxy. Well, let's go ahead and add the hard highlights or the sharp highlights layer. So I will make a new layer and we'll call this sharp highlights. Now for the sharp highlights, we're going to use the brush and we are going to set the opacity here, maybe somewhere around 50%. But we're also going to want to go into the brush preset over here. It's the brushes palette where all the presets are located, but we can also modify the brush as well. So if you click on Shape Dynamics, and right here where it says Control, turn on the control to fade, and with the minimum diameter to 0%, you can adjust the fade amount right here. This is the important value area that you want to use right here. And I will turn the hardness up to maybe somewhere around 95% and lower the brush size. And then what I'll do is zoom in, and I can click once like here and then hold down Shift and you can create a highlight like this. Now that doesn't look right because the brush is too large. So let me just lower the diameter of that using the brackets on the keyboard. And let's try that again. And click, move up here, and you can create something like that. But it looks like to me that the fade needs to be enhanced. So I'm going to turn that up to 80. Or even go 90 on the fade. And then I can come back here, click, and then hold down Shift and create something like this. I'm just going to turn this down just a little bit. There we go. And I can click here. And I will probably come back and touch up these highlights. There we go. Wanted to get that drip straight there. And that looks good. For the longer drips, I can increase the fade. We can go just all the way up to 100 for the value, or you can go even larger if you want, 140. It might even be too much there. We'll go 130. And I'll click down here and then move my mouse all the way, move the brush all the way up to the top, hold down Shift, and you can see that it will pull that highlight all the way up. And I'm going to go back and retouch all these so I'm not being too fussy on where these highlights start and begin and all that. Turn that down to 4 pixels. There we go. Add something like this. Actually, that's a little bit thicker, so use the brackets to increase that. There we go. Then what I can do is use the eraser and come through here with the hardness all the way down. I can soften the edges where the highlights begin there. Just paint on each side of them. There we go. And I can also lower the opacity of the layer as well, if you like to adjust how much or how bright those highlights are. But what I'm going to do is come over here and continue with these highlights. There we go. That might even be a little bit too thick. So I'm just going to lower the brush size. There we go. It looks like I could have added a little bit more highlight on these. So I'm just going to turn off the fade here for a second. And it's difficult sometimes when you have certain projects that are you can just get very creative with them. And when you're creating a step-by-step tutorial, you know, you get a different result every time for projects like this. So may not always turn out the same way that I did it originally. It can be a little bit different. And things can happen that were not planned, but I can come in here and just touch these up while I show you this. And I figured if you watch me work on this, then you could learn how to do it or pick up little things that will help you out. There we go. And I see little things here and there that I would like to go change, but I'm not going to really focus on those things right now. I'm going to come up on the top of this with the sharp highlights layer. And I'll probably turn down that to 50%. And increase this. I'm going to click and just right along the very top of this just a little bit. Something like that. There we go. If you look closely on the detail of this doorknob, we do have some highlights on here. Now we can paint on these, but it'll be very difficult because these are very fine lines. So what you can do is click on the smudge strips and then select the eraser. And then you can erase away a little bit. So I'll need to lower the opacity of this to 20%. And I got to click back on that smudge layer there. But if you come through here, you can click and erase away, bringing back some of that original detail. But not too much, though, because you want to have that waxed type look still. There we go. And I'm just going to come here on these sharp highlights and touch these up. I'm just using the eraser tool to come through here and make a few touch-ups. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And we can see that this is our original. And you see that I've adjusted the lighting and stuff on this one. But if you look closely, there's something that sort of bothered me when I did this originally. And if you look, it looks like there's no shadow underneath this doorknob, or there may not need to be one, but just to help it pop out a little bit more, make it look a little bit more realistic, so maybe we have some shadows from the drips. Well, what we can do is click on the door layer right here. What I'll do is make a new layer, and let's just call this shadow. That way we're not working directly off the door layer there. But what I'll do is increase the brush size, and what we're doing here is just making a large soft brush so we can create this shadow through here. And you can see that just enhances the effect a little bit. This is before and this is after. Now it looks like that wax stuff there just pops out. Look at that.